Travelling along at 60 miles an hour, avoiding all the flashy, shining cars, all were dashing quickly to and fro. It was then I noticed a man upon the road with his guitar and his bedroll. I began to wonder where he was going. Travelling man, travelling man, you keep on travelling on the road, going through life all on your own. Sometimes you must get very weary.
Hello again, and I'm Ron Jones. Welcome to the Vision Channel. We're in a little town called Keynsham for this particular program. Now, in case you don't know, Keynsham is just about halfway between the two cities of Bath and Bristol. And my special guest that I'd like you to meet today, her name is Jean Neal, and her story is quite a terrific one, but I'm not going to make much of an introduction. I just want you to hear the story as it unfolds in our chat together. Jean, welcome to the Vision Channel. It's great to be with you, looking so healthy and, might I say, prosperous. Take me back 65 years to Jersey.
I was born in Jersey,
Yeah?
and soon after I was born, things happened in the family, and my mother was very poorly, and we had to be taken away because
Yeah.
my own father had a drinking
How
problem.
many brothers and sisters did you have?
6 brothers and 6 sisters, so that was a big family.
So you were really, you were a big family. Only a couple short of a rugby team.
Yeah.
It was quite something. Now, you told me that your mum had a massive stroke. When exactly did that happen then?
That was at my birth. She was giving birth to me. She actually had the stroke then.
So that really you hardly ever knew your mother apart from the effect of the stroke.
That's right.
And you tell me at the same time that your dad was an alcoholic. Now that is quite a tragic mixture. A mother who has a massive stroke and a dad who is an alcoholic, and there are 13 children. How did you cope with that? What did you feel like?
Well, I didn't know much about it myself because my father was very cruel.
In which way was he cruel?
Well, he used to beat my brothers and sisters with a leather belt because of the drinking problem, and there were other things as well, and neighbours reported it, and we were taken away from him.
I want to come to that. At what age were you taken away from him? In actual fact, that is the truth. You were taken away from him.
Yes, I was only a couple of months old myself.
Yeah.
And
did all of the kids have to go?
yes, all of us. The girls were put in a girls' home, the boys in a boys' home, but I was put in a baby's creche.
So were you in a different place to the girls, or was it a creche in the same place?
No, it was a different place completely, and I was there till I was 6 years old.
Well, yeah. So what you're telling me, Jean, is that the result of the conditions under which you lived, the whole family of children was split up.
Yeah, that's right.
That must have been traumatic.
It was because at the age of 6 I was moved on to where my sisters were, the girls' home.
Yes.
And it was only then that I realised I'd got any family at all or even a mum and a dad.
Is that right? So that opened your eyes quite a bit.
Yes, because even at the age of 6 I asked questions,
Yeah.
and I began to blame my father. I hated my father, and I just felt sorry for my mother.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But my sisters were complete strangers.
Were they?
And then
So, did you recognise them when you saw them, or had you been
no,
too young?
I'd never seen them.
Never seen them.
I thought I was an orphan.
Is that right? Now, all right, that was part of a traumatic experience that must have had an effect upon your life and your outlook on life. But then came the Nazi occupation in the Channel Islands. How old were you when that event took place? Can you remember? Doesn't matter if you can't.
No, not fully, because but that was really regimented, and the Nazi army really just took over the whole of the island, and everything was regimented by them.
Yes.
There was curfews, everything.
And were you and your brothers and sisters in this home or in the homes when the Nazis took over?
Yes, we were still in the home.
How did they treat the situation in the home? What effect did the Nazi occupation have upon you?
In the actual home, we weren't affected, I don't think, quite so much as people outside.
Yeah. Was it a hard regime?
It was a very hard regime, you know. I'll say there was curfews, there was everything. And of course my older brothers and sisters would know more about that, because at the age of 15 they left the homes and went out into service.
And they went out of the home earlier than you did?
Yes.
So you were left in that home on your own as far as your family?
Yes, I lost contact with them.
Did the Nazi occupation have any effect on your life? Make any impact in any way?
Yes, because that all builds up in you as well. And there's like a hatred, a bitterness, jealousy, resentment, everything that's happening to you. And you start asking, why is all this happening?
Yeah.
What have I done to deserve all this?
Because really now, it was a pretty bad shape, wasn't it, for you?
Yes, it was. And, you know, even in the children's home, sweets, fruit, all this sort of thing, all the luxuries that perhaps other children would be having to a certain extent, we didn't have.
You were denied those?
We were denied them.
Now, as a teenager, I read somewhere that Jean Neal was the life and soul of the party. Now, I'm going to suggest to you, Jean, that was simply something that was on the outside, and that inside the situation was totally different, deep down in your heart. Am I right on that?
Yes, I was number one troublemaker.
Were you?
Yes, and you're putting on a front, because as you said, you're hiding inside what really is hurting you.
Yeah.
All the troubles, the bothers. And so to put up a front and to be a number one sort of gang leader, that makes you feel good.
Did you get into trouble in the home because you were a bit of a gang leader?
I was always in the front line for punishments.
Well, yeah.
Yes, and that just made me harder, made me even worse.
What about your emotions? And did you suffer from a sense of rejection? And how did you feel about self-worth? What did you think about yourself?
Well, I didn't think I was worth anything, and our self-emotions, inner feelings, we weren't allowed to cry outwardly. You had to sort of go in secret and cry. Even when we were beaten for punishment, we were not allowed to cry publicly in front of the other girls.
Did this go on up until about the age of 15, or did you leave? Or did you leave the school later at 18, or what?
No, I left at 15,
yes.
And I was put out to work on a farm till I was 18. but you still come under the regime of the girls' home that I was in.
Yeah. What did you do on the farm? Tell me. Milk the cows?
Oh, milk the cows and
Did you?
and fed the pigs and cleaned the pigs and cleaned the goats, and I
you?
hated it.
Did you?
And so I used to play up a bit, and then they would send you back to the home for a bit more sort of punishment or something, and then send you back to the farm to work. And this went on for 3 years. No wages, nothing.
I'm going to ask you a very serious question. When you were milking the cows, did you ever kick the bucket over?
I spilt it over many times and got a clout for it.
Did you? Yeah. And you hated that?
Hated it.
So up to now, 18 years of age, am I right in saying that your life was, to some degree, more or less, filled with a kind of hatred?
I looked on it as imprisonment.
Because it had been rough right from the day you were born?
Yeah,
Really?
exactly.
Okay. Now, Jean, we brighten up. At 19 years of age, something absolutely terrific happened in your life. Tell us about it.
Well, I was invited to an Easter conference meeting, and I had rebelled against things of God. A dear lady prayed for me day and night for a whole year. I used to mock her every day. I used to just scoff and say, you carry on praying. But she never gave up, and she invited me to meeting, and she said, if you don't like it, you needn't come again. I'll leave you alone. So I invited 9 other nurses with me, and we went to this Brethren church, and we were going to disrupt the whole meeting, and we were going to put her off, and she wouldn't ask us again. And I was the gang leader again, even at that time, at the age of 19, and I was going to sing pop songs instead of hymns. I was going to just disrupt the whole meeting. We had chewing gum, we were going to blow bubbles. But suddenly I hear the gospel.
Yeah. Was that the first time you'd heard the gospel in its simplicity?
In that way, we had to go to church every Sunday when I was in the girls' home.
Yeah.
And I had made up my mind I was never going to go to church when I grew up anyway. But I heard the gospel in a different way. I had never had love from my parents because I didn't want that love from them. I just blamed them for everything. And even people outside, they were just friends. There wasn't that, I really love you. And even the fellas I went out with, there was something that wasn't real with them. And so to hear the gospel for the first time in a way that a father, gives his son to die for the sins of the world, I thought, I don't think my dad, even if he was like he was, would give me to die for the world. And I thought, this is cruel. And suddenly I looked at the gospel, the story, the Easter story, in a different way. And I began to weep as I realised that it was for me. I felt I was the only one in that church. It was for me. It was especially for me. How he must have loved me. And the appeal was made to give our lives to the Lord. Yeah. And 5 of us gave our lives to the Lord, and I was one of them.
So what you're saying to me, really, that was probably the first time in your life that you caught a glimpse of what real, true love was.
Exactly. It was like a turning wheel in my life.
And it made an impact.
Very much so.
Oh, very good. Now, I want to go on to 1958 and the pealing out of wedding bells. I suppose you remember that day, do you?
Very much so. It's the day we got married.
Is that right? Who was the fortunate man then?
Jean Neal.
Jean Neal.
We've now been married for 43 years.
Have you?
But we were pen friends first.
Were you?
For some time.
Yeah.
I picked
How
him.
did he ask you to marry him? Did he go on his knees?
No, I asked him actually.
Did
I gave
you?
him an ultimatum.
Still a gang leader?
I gave him an ultimatum because it was quite expensive coming over to Rugby,
Yeah.
where John lived,
From Jersey.
from Jersey,
Yeah.
you know, to get to know him. So I decided that we would get married because it would be cheaper. So we got...
You got
so,
back.
so he agreed.
Yeah.
I don't think it was anything special than that. I just decided it was too
You
expensive.
had a wedding cake, did you?
Oh, we had a good wedding. We had a good wedding in Jersey.
Yes.
We got married
Now,
in...
You were married probably about 5 years, and like most married couples, you must have built up some kind of castles in the air, what you were going to do. I know you had some children. Was it 4?
We've got 4 children.
2 boys and 2 girls.
Yes, I had
Yeah.
2 of the children, and we decided to buy a little house.
Yeah.
And we were offered some extra furniture for the house.
Yeah.
And amongst this was some carpeting, and it was out on the pavement.
Yeah.
And I was just standing on the piece of carpet, and the men decided that was the time they wanted the carpet to actually put in the sitting room. And they asked me for it, but they didn't ask politely. They didn't say please. See, I was still rebellious.
Yeah.
That little bit, you've got to say please, and then you can have it. And I suppose I was joking. And they said, if you don't get off the carpet, we'll pull it. Well, so that's the only way you're going to get it. And so they did it.
This interview is opening my eyes about your character.
Yeah.
Really. Now then, all that and the little home and the thing building up in your mind, 5 years into your marriage, I think I'm right, 5 years into your marriage, tragedy struck.
Yeah, that was the day when they pulled the carpet from under my feet.
Was it?
And I fell on the edge of the pavement. And even then, because of my boisterous jokes and things, they thought I was playing, because I didn't want to do any more work in moving the furniture. So, but I made them realise I was hurt, and they put me into bed. And the doctor came next day and just said to me my back was bruised.
Yeah.
But 3 days later, I was so ill, they rushed me to hospital. I was paralysed.
Which hospital was that?
St Cross in Rugby.
Was it?
And I was paralysed, and they decided to do x-rays and realised I had broken my spine. I'd broken the coccyx.
It was actually broken.
It was actually broken.
What effect did that have on other parts of your body then?
Well, I was just absolutely devastated, because falling back, I was bruised in other parts as well. I was hurting all over, really. And I lay on traction for 8 weeks in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I could not sleep on an ordinary bed. I had to just have an orthopaedic board with a sheet on. And that eventually was my bed for the next 25 years.
Now, how about then when you got up a little bit? I don't know how much you recovered, but I reckon you were confined to a wheelchair for a bit, were you?
Yes, after many years of having several operations.
How many operations did you have?
I've had 16 to
16?
date. Yes.
Were they all to do with your spine?
No, 3 of them. I've had 3 major operations on my spine.
Yeah.
I had 3 heart attacks.
Yeah.
3 medication I was on caused blindness.
Now tell me about that blindness thing, because I read somewhere that you in addition to the spine and the heart attacks and all the rest of it, you were blind for 6 weeks.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. What was that like?
Was
it frightening?
It was frightening, because you're suddenly in darkness, and yet you know that there was that one time when you had your sight, and you don't know how long this is going to be for. And, you know, it's just complete blackout in front of you.
Yeah.
And you're feeling for sort of feeling for everything. And then you realise what somebody feels like when they're actually born blind.
Yeah.
It's a frightening situation.
It's horrific, isn't it? Now, you were in a state physically.
Yeah, in every
You're
way.
in a desperate state physically, and people might be tempted to say that that situation must destroy Jean's faith. Tell me, Jean, honestly, did it destroy your faith or have any effect on your faith?
Probably at times I questioned God why,
Yeah.
but my actual faith never really waned to, I always had that faith because the people in the church where I was prayed me through, and I would never ever miss church.
Yeah.
I worked with the youth and I worked with the Sunday school children.
Now, wait, slow on a minute.
Okay.
Slow on. You had a spine condition, you had heart attacks, you had operations, and what you're telling me is that you still worked in the church. Lots of people would have retired from working in the church with that lot.
No, that kept me going
Did it?
because it keeps your mind going as well, keeps your mind active.
Yeah.
And you take your mind off yourself and you're doing something else.
Great. Now, you had a Sunday school class. Tell me, Jean, about the little scallywag in your Sunday school class. Was he about 3 or something?
He was 3 years
3.
old. His name was... And he was the little horror of the Sunday school. He could disrupt the whole Sunday school.
So he was a bit like you had been.
Well, he was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see myself in him.
Could you?
And every Sunday he would want to pray. And because he used to swear a lot, and you don't like to be embarrassed and shown up as a Sunday school teacher, so I used to give him some sweets and perhaps a little bit of money and tell him he could pray the following week.
Yeah.
And one day he picked me up on it. He said, "You're a liar, you do that every week." And, that really sort of makes you really sort of angry that this little scallywag of 3 is telling you you're a liar, And I said, "Don't you dare call me that." He said, "Well, you are." And, he was right, because I was lying to him every week, just putting him off.
Yeah.
And then
He prayed a special prayer on Sunday, didn't he?
6 weeks before March the 12th, 1988, little Neal came in to Sunday school. And, he used to come in with his trousers round the wrong way, odd shoes, one sock, and all his clothes inside out and all sorts. He was really a comic.
Yeah.
And he came in. I said, "I'm going to pray today." I said, "No, you're not." I said, "I'm boss." He said, "Well, shut your mouth." He said, "Because I'm just going to say something." I said, "You cheeky little monkey, you." And Pastor says, "Excuse me, Neal. If Auntie Jean says, no, you can't pray, you can't pray." He said, "Well, shut your mouth as well." That's boldness for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he says, "Because I'm just going to stand and say something." At that moment,
What did he say?
the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "Who are you to stop him praying?"
Yeah.
And I thought, "Lord, he swears. I can't let him pray." "Who are you to stop him praying? Prayer is free." I said, "Okay, Neal, you can pray." He came, he said, "Thank you, Jesus, for bringing us to Sunday school in Pastor's old banger." I daren't look at Pastor. He said, "Thank you, Jesus." He said, "For the kids here, some I like, some I don't. In fact, I hate some of them because they hurt me." Then he stopped. He said, "I want to turn round." I said, "Okay, you finished praying?" He said, "No." I thought, well, whatever he says now, I can't help it. But he took my hands, a little child, praying. He said, Auntie, Jesus, you see my Auntie Jean here. She's been sick a long, long time and she do be in a lot of pain. So come on, Jesus, hurry up, do as your work and healed her. Amen. And he went back. Do you know that I couldn't stay in Sunday school?
Great.
It was one Sunday night that I did not go to church. But God sorted me out.
Yeah.
Because I had
You were quite moved by that.
yeah, I had resentment. God pointed the finger at me.
Yeah.
See, I had been pointing the finger at Neil.
Yeah.
You know, you're not doing this because.
And God turned it on you.
And God said, what about your own life?
Yeah.
You've got everything.
Well, Jean, believe it or not, that's our time gone. By jingo, you're a talker. And when you come back, and I'd like to go on to the next stage. We just leave it with the little scallywag. I think you said his name was Neal, asking God to heal you. And we'll chat about that next time. I'm absolutely certain you have been as inspired by what Jean had to tell me as I have. It's a terrific story, and as you will have noticed, we've been unable to get through it completely. And as I express my thanks to the camera crew and all who have helped to make this program possible, the folk who loaned us their home for the filming of it, I'd like to invite you all back for the second part of this terrific interview, and you'll be truly amazed at what God has done and what God is doing in the life of this particular lady. So this is Ron Jones saying goodbye for this time. Look after yourself, and we'll be praying for you. And please pray for us as well. God bless.
Traveling man, traveling man. You keep on traveling on the road, going through life all on your